Hey, so my name's Evan Donahue. I was diagnosed with Crohn's and diverticulitis in December of 2018. I spent 30 days in and out of hospitals, racked up some pretty incredible medical bills in that
Oh
time
boy.
period. And I was bleeding, diarrhea, vomiting for months. I would say
Ay, ay, ay.
from uh, November of 2018 to about April, May. Uh, it was vomiting and diarrhea every day,
Mm-hmm.
bleeding, um, just horrible. I was like this close from surgery, and they wanted to put me on Remicade shots and the whole 9 yards. It was really really bad. My GI doctor after my colonoscopy, said that I had one of the worst colons he's ever seen. I lost a ridiculous amount of weight. I've always been relatively thin guy anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but standing at 6'1", being about 110, 115 pounds, uh, at a certain point
Wow.
in time, I was losing my hair. I just stopped looking at the mirror because it would make me cry every time. Like
That's
it
horrible.
got it got really really bad. And yeah, it was definitely the darkest time of my life. If I know, like I like that you get really real with your story, and I
Mm-hmm.
I am totally cool with getting really real with mine. But I'd say like at the worst of it, I was going in for a colonoscopy. I was in the hospital, and they gave me that bucket of stuff, like salt water type stuff to drink,
Mm-hmm.
um, before you go into it to clear you out. And I just couldn't drink it. I was like vomiting, and I just couldn't drink it. So instead, they gave me an enema and cleared me out that way. And like I remember, like I'd never done anything like that before. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, like the guy, luckily is very gentle, and a wonderful nurse. He's sticking this thing up me and cleaning me out, and I was just so mortified by the whole
Yeah.
experience. I was like throwing up and diarrheaing at the same time, and
Oh, that's
like
horrible.
it's like it was just like the worst thing you could possibly imagine. And so to be here today, health at a healthy weight and with no symptoms whatsoever,
That's awesome.
and it's a huge blessing. And I remember being in that hospital and praying to God and just saying, deliver me the knowledge that I need to cure myself. And I promise, whatever I can do to help anybody, I will help them. And I know that if I can be of service in any way, and it's kind of funny because now I feel like I owe it to anybody. And that's really what this is. This is part of me keeping my promise to God, because being here, going on 2 years later,
Mm-hmm.
in December it'll be 2 years from my diagnosis, and to be sitting here, basically being able to eat what I want to. I eat
Oh
very
wow.
clean, everything's organic, everything's clean,
Mm-hmm.
but I can eat bread, I can eat all
Yeah.
the things I couldn't eat before.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. So
huge
it's
blessings.
like you're eating a healthy version of what you were eating before. So it's not like you're suffering taste buds wise. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, luckily, all of the foods in the protocol, and all of those kind of like Weston A. Price type of
mm-hmm.
like diet, like that kind of diet is something that I didn't really see as a huge sacrifice anyway. Like I
Yeah,
like all
yeah,
those foods, and
yeah.
so it just was about cutting out the crap, the processed foods,
Mm-hmm.
which and then also just changing my lifestyle. Like I was just eating horrible and
Mm-hmm.
drinking too much. Not an
Yeah,
alcoholic or anything, but just drinking too much, and
yeah, yeah,
and staying out too late, not getting enough sleep. Just all these kind of basic things.
yeah. So how long would you say were you on our program where you started to see like big results and where it was like, okay, wow, this might actually work?
Luckily, luckily it was really, really quick, you know. So
Oh, nice.
when I got onto the protocol, and I just started from zero, you know, from
Yeah.
phase zero. I was eating, actually I got it right here. I was eating
Yeah.
because I kept a journal, right? Every day we kept a journal, we wrote down everything, and I think that that's the
Tracking
main
is
thing.
huge.
You
Yeah.
got to be, if you're really serious about your health, you got to be a great
Yeah.
student, you know. And
Yeah.
I see a lot of the people on the Facebook and everything
Yeah.
else, and I'm just like, you know, you really have to become a great student in order to heal
Hmm.
yourself. It's like the most important part. You know, like I started noticing, you know, like I was so bad that just like, hey, I can walk up my stairs, right? Like
Hmm.
that type of stuff. Like
That was like
I
too much
feel,
stress for your body, like walking up a set of stairs.
you know, walking up,
Wow.
yeah, just like moving, just getting in the right position to be able to sleep, you know. And I
Uh-huh.
think that you know, one of the things that going through it really taught me is that I do have a very high threshold for pain, which was good because I was on, you know, morphine drip in the hospital, and then
Uh-huh.
when I got out they put me on oxycontin 30s, and I just kept remember
Ay,
thinking
ay.
like, I'm putting this pill in my gut, and my gut is all torn to hell, looking like hamburger meat in there, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and I'm just thinking this cannot be good. So I got
Let's
to
rub
get off
some nasty chemicals on our cuts.
yeah, right. And you know, they're diminishing returns from the opioids. So I
Hmm.
got off of them really quick, and I just dealt with the pain, you know.
Yeah.
And it you know it, but yeah, it was pretty quick. Like from getting on the protocol, I started feeling, you know, baby steps better
Hmm.
within a few days, and
Oh wow.
like
Yeah.
probably like a week or so, you know, because it wasn't doing damage anymore, and I was basically
Yeah.
just eating like, you know,
So you
eggs,
think the
like,
biggest thing was you were just removing the sources of injury that like
yeah,
and then giving your body the foods it needs to actually heal.
and
That's
then
it's
just giving
amazing
it,
how fast the body can turn around when we take out the sources of injury and give it the nutrients it needs.
you know, and a lot of the things, and one of the reasons why I think that like I really connected with your videos on YouTube, because that's how I found you, was on YouTube. That's
Hmm.
how I find everything, by the way. It's like I do everything on YouTube. Like I've been learning everything from fixing my car to, you know, to how to invest. Like I'm just
Yeah,
completely
yeah.
educating myself on YouTube, was like almost solely. But you know, I think that's one of the things that what connected me with your story was, it was just so simple. Like like one of the things that you said that really always stuck with me is it's just like fixing a broken bone. Okay,
Hmm.
fixing a broken butt or a broken gut is just like fixing a broken bone, except
Hmm.
for fixing a broken bone really takes a little bit longer because your gut's,
Yeah.
you know, only a few cells thick in
Hmm.
many of the places in it, and so it's not going to take as long. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was feeling better, and then you know, I remember I did a video of chat just like this with a doctor. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention any names, but with a doctor that
Yeah.
he was actually a really good doctor.
Oh, it's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, like really good GI. He's doing a thesis on I forget what, the microbiome, and like he's really hip to everything.
Okay.
But like I sent him my medical what is
Yeah,
it
like your like summary, like your medical
yeah, which
summary.
basically sounds like, hey, this guy doesn't want to listen to us and he's about to die, is pretty much what it's at.
Yeah.
But like when I did the video chat with him, he was like, oh my god, I was expecting to see from your medical charts, I was expecting to see you in like a bed and like
Yeah,
dying.
like being rolled in or something.
Yeah, and by that point in time, I was feeling a lot better, you know.
Uh,
And I mean, not 100%, you know, by any means, but like just starting to turn that corner.
mhm.
But yeah, it was, I think for me, you know, I was doing, and I know that the protocol doesn't call for it anymore, but I did nightly activated charcoal once I got off the
Okay.
prednisone. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was taking that, and I took that for about 2 months, and
Mhm.
every night, while I was fasting, and that really cleared me out. And I think that that was kind of the main thing that started it. I
That's
think I
awesome.
had it. I'm kind of self-diagnosing at this point, but when I go back to like the months leading up to my big crash,
Mhm.
um, I was taking
Yeah.
Tums on a daily basis, and
Oh.
and I think that what happened is that was diluting the acid in my stomach,
And
and so
stuff was
then
ripping through you.
yeah, so it's like, so things were partially not digesting, and then
Yeah.
also I think that, like, because the acid was weak in my stomach, I think I was more susceptible to parasites, and
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
that's what was happening. And so for me, the activated charcoal worked very well because it was able to clear those parasites out. And
Mhm.
and I really thank the protocol, because I was getting some really weird symptoms from the activated charcoal, but that
Mhm.
were really positive though. Like, I got a horrible rash on my belly, and I
Yeah.
think that was just like things trying to escape. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if it wasn't for the knowledge and the protocol, I'd probably just stop taking the activated charcoal.
Mhm.
But through the protocol, I learned that, hey, look, these kind of things are this shit's gonna try to escape your system. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but
Oh yeah, no, that's totally fine.
we're
So
good. Yeah.
yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
So
that's cool. I'm glad like you're, I can always tell like people who are on the right track because, they're, one of the biggest problems with GI doctors is they don't even know how to use their own terminology. Like they don't know what the word inflammation means. They don't like these simple terms. Colitis means colon inflammation. Crohn's, I don't even know why that's a word. It should be called like enteritis because that's what the word that they used to use. So it's like they don't even know how to use basic terminology to describe that this part or that part of the colon is inflamed, which really just means it's injured and something injured it. And that's like the first part of getting better. And it's like even like the most well-known holistic doctors on YouTube are still using the word inflammation
yeah,
incorrectly, and that's the inflammation's
as
not
if
the
that's the
problem.
problem.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Uh,
it's like we can't have an intelligent conversation and an intelligent self-testing and just troubleshooting and problem solving if you don't understand the
yeah,
very,
the
very, very
words.
basics.
Yeah. I forget who it was, some ancient philosopher, but the beginning of knowledge is knowing the definition of words, right? It is so
I
true.
like that. I haven't heard that before. I like
Yeah,
that
I
a lot.
forget who it is, Plato or one of them guys, but yeah, I think that it's so real. And I mean,
Hmm.
like, I remember being in the hospital, and they're like that. Luckily, the surgeon had a heart and was like, we probably shouldn't do this. I'm like, I don't want to do this. In the hospital,
Uh,
my colon had swelled to like
yeah,
11 centimeters. It was insane. Like, if you've
that's
seen
huge. Holy,
dude,
that's
it was
huge.
giant, and you could see it in there, and it was just filling with gas. And I think that
Uh-huh.
the scar tissue or whatever was like blocking it, so I couldn't pass gas. And I was in such pain, it was unbelievable. And they were like, okay, well, let's cut it out. And I remember, like, I'm frantically looking on YouTube, like, what do I do to get rid of this gas? And I came across a person that was like, well, yoga will really help. And I always kind of made fun of
Yeah,
my wife for doing yoga. I'm like, whatever with that stuff, right?
yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, let's do it. So I get on the hospital floor. Well, at first I tried to do it on my bed, but my bed was too squishy to get
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
positions. And so I'm like, all right. So I get on the floor, and I got the IV on me and shit. And I'm like, okay. And I get into child's pose, which,
yeah.
if you don't know what it is, just look it up, right? And I get into child's pose, and I fart the biggest fart like you could possibly imagine. It was like I had an extra set of lungs that were just like releasing this,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and so I get rid of this thing, and all of a sudden my belly just instantly just like contracts, and the pain goes away, and I'm like, oh my god, I
That
just
is
got rid of
amazing. And that's like so cool. That is like common sense 101. it's just
Right.
like shooting yourself in the foot with like how smart somebody is. Like these
Right.
doctors, they're like, well, maybe if you just like took the kink out of your colon and changed your posture, the gas would come out the normal way. Instead, they're like, oh,
Well, let's dump a
oh.
bunch of chemicals in you. Let's inject you with a bunch of stuff, and
I think if we give you this, it's like it's just beyond stupid. Like
yeah,
it's
right. And it's like literally, it's like, hey man, can you just fart? If you
yeah,
just
it's so
like, it's like literally that simple, you know. And so like once I discovered that, I realized that that's what was throwing me back into the emergency room. It was I was having this gas
a
buildup,
gas buildup.
and so
And
like
so,
from
did you
that
have a
point on,
stricture? You had a strict.
I get I you know
Are you not really sure?
I'll be real with you. Like so what happened is I would go to my checkups, and like I remember going to my 1 month checkup after I got
Uh
back,
huh.
and by that point I was followed the protocol, so I was feeling better, and the doctor's like, okay, so he's like, what drugs are you taking? And I was like, well, I don't take any of them, pretty much like everything that you told me to do, I did not that, and I'm
uh,
feeling a lot better now, and I'm doing good. And from that point in
oh
time,
boy.
he just stopped seeing me. He just
Uh huh.
wouldn't see me. And then, what's funny, and like I was mentioning a little bit earlier, like I called all 11 GI doctors in the city trying to schedule an appointment because I figured, at the very least, I wanted to make sure I was getting my blood work, because that was also very
Yeah.
helpful. I noticed, like, in my blood work, my vitamin D was very low, so I started supplementing vitamin D and getting more time in the sun,
Yeah.
and so to help to heal and everything. So I still wanted to go to the doctor, and the funny thing is like when I'm looking through my medical records, they make me sound like I'm some kind of like weirdo person that doesn't listen to doctors and stuff, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not true at all. I'm like begging for help, actually.
Yeah.
I just also research things, and I'm skeptical of pharmaceuticals. It's like,
Yeah.
pharmaceutical kills hundreds of thousands of people a year, and
Yeah.
doesn't care about getting people addicted to their drugs. They don't care about people. Like, this is
I
obvious,
spent a
right?
year in the Remicade room, and there's no healthy people in that room. Let me tell you,
Yeah,
like
it's just horrible. And then think
horrible.
about, like, the idea of we're going through this pandemic right now, and then
Mm-hmm.
being on these drugs that completely undercut your body's ability
Yeah.
to fight off infection. Like, what, like, where would I be right now with this global
Mm-hmm.
pandemic going on with a Remicade in affected immune system? I'd be
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
screwed. And so many people are going through this right now, and I feel my heart goes out to them. It's like, but yeah, I think that one of the other benefits that I had, many people, they start getting severe symptoms, very young. And, I was
Mm-hmm.
35, 36 years old when I went to the hospital. And so I had enough life experience to know that our authorities and our so-called leaders on every level, whether it's in the
Mm-hmm.
medical establishment or in the political establishment, in general, I kind of went through that Socratic realization that
Mm-hmm.
the leaders of our society are full of shit, on
Yeah,
so many
when
levels.
you're in school, you're like, oh, our elders are so smart, and then you like graduate high school, and you're starting to doubt yourself. Does anyone know what they're doing? And then you
Well,
get out of
yeah,
college, and then you're like, okay, nobody knows what you get, and then you get your first job, and then you're like, holy shit, no one knows what they're doing.
yeah, really, you're gonna have to
And
figure this out for
then,
yourself. Yeah,
yep.
and so having gone through a little bit of life experience before being diagnosed with the illness, was already skeptical of major medical establishment and everything
Mm-hmm.
else, and not to say that I would just write them off. Of course not, right?
Yeah.
I try to listen to professionals as much as I can, but
Yeah.
at the same time, just come with it with a healthy dose of
Yeah.
skepticism, and understanding that they have a financial vested interest in these things and everything else.
Yeah.
And so I think that helped out a lot too, because I was willing to listen to like somebody like yourself, who's not a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
but was going through the exact same thing I went through, and
Right.
and kind of just and I think that, like, one thing that having, some education and philosophy will teach you is that, you're good at sussing out bullshit, right? It's
Yeah.
like, and I could just
Yeah.
tell that when I heard your story, that you were living it, that it wasn't, this was more than just, you trying to make a buck or anything like that. That this was your calling, and from my perspective, it's what God called you to do, and you're fulfilling,
Thank you.
what God's mission is for you. And I know that on a daily basis, it's got to feel great, to know that you're following what that path is. And like when I reached out to you, I'm like, hey, what can I do to help, because it's like, I feel like I gotta, I feel like I have to help out as many people as I can. And, people will contact me sometimes. And if anybody
Yeah.
wants
Yeah.
to contact me, I can kind of tell you what I can. But it is really important that everybody's going to be different with this thing. So what
Yeah.
worked
Yeah.
for me is not going to necessarily work for somebody else. You know, um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it feels
So,
good to share it.
what were some of the things that you did that really helped you out? You activated charcoal, and I activated charcoal is still great. I'm just trying to account for like the super serious, like, because it can't, it's rocks
Yeah.
to a certain extent, so it can scratch your gut. And we have other alternatives. But what were some of the other things that could activated charcoal is amazing. Like it's
Yeah.
like the stuff that it's capable of is absolutely amazing. But what were
Yeah.
some of the other things that you
So
did?
just kind of sticking to the phases of the protocol and not going
Yeah,
to the next phase too early. I think that's like, because the protocol really breaks down everything.
yeah,
I think that kind of learning about Weston A. Price
yeah.
and really kind of diving into that stuff really helped. The raw milk was huge for me.
Raw
And
milk.
here,
So you were able to tolerate raw milk like right from the get go, right from the
well,
start,
no,
or
yeah, because here in my state, it's illegal to buy, and so I
yeah.
had to cross state lines to get it. But
Oh, you had to
luckily,
drive the you had to drive to
yeah, yeah.
Cali to go get it every time.
Well, and when I was really sick, I couldn't even get in the car. You know what I
Oh
mean? So
wow.
it's like, so at the beginning, like it was just way too much pain to even get in the car.
Yeah.
We found a collective through a wonderful grocery store that we have here in
Oh,
town,
nice,
and
nice.
they go to a neighboring state on a biweekly basis, and we get
Oh, cool.
wonderful milk from, like, what is the A2 or A1 cows
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever. I don't know
yeah,
how meaningful that is, but it tastes great and it's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
I really contribute that to a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I started real slow because I would have some little issues at the beginning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Bananas gave me a weird issue for some reason. I don't know what, but like now I could even eat.
Yeah,
I can eat
yeah.
it. But yeah. So some of the things that helped me just kind of sticking to the protocol. Bone broth was huge for me in the beginning. Because
So,
it was the only thing.
okay, yeah. So
It was
the
the only
meat
thing I
stock,
could.
the gelatinous, the
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, we would buy some from the store, and also, make our own with like chicken bones and stuff.
Nice, nice.
And so that the cooking with an Instapot, we still make most of our meals with the Instapot,
This
to this
spot's
day.
awesome. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. And it makes it real simple and easy to have
Mm-hmm.
great meals. My wife is wonderful. Like, she's such a good cook, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like about all this stuff.
Yeah.
She was really about it before I got sick, and I just kind of was like, oh, you know, um, and I should have been listening to her the whole time. I would have probably never had an issue if I would have, but um,
Mm-hmm.
and then a lot of the things that just people think are good for you, that I was eating a lot. I was eating a lot of, nuts and seeds and stuff like that, thinking, "Oh, this
Oh
is,
boy, yeah.
you know it's like, no. I don't need any of that stuff anymore. That's about the only thing I haven't really reincorporated into my diet from
Yeah.
before that I used to really enjoy. But I would get,
Yeah.
like, I would
I
just eat
I
like
don't think
McDonald's.
nuts were ever meant to be eaten
Yeah.
in the quantities we eat them today. Like peanut butter is not a very old food. Like peanut butter has only been around for like a couple hundred years. Like it's
Oh, and
not
actually,
very natural.
I'm eating peanut butter again. Just like the very healthy peanut butter, like
Yeah.
organic, real
Yeah,
good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I'm
There's
able to
nothing
do
wrong
that.
with peanut butter.
Yeah.
It's hard to digest, but people, it originated from South America. Those people have been eating. It's a legume, so it has a really good um, nutrient profile. It has more nutrients than your grains would. But yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I don't have much issues, but I think so. So some of the things that really helped me were I take the recommended bovine supplement, the all the organs,
Oh,
the,
okay, okay, yeah,
Israel. Love that stuff, and I
yeah.
recently started taking the recommended. I always kind of took half of the recommended amount, which I think is like six
I
capsules a
can
day.
tell when I don't take that.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
at a subtle level, you become more sensitive to foods. I mean, that's
Yeah.
your vitamin pill right there.
Absolutely, and I don't eat a lot of organ meats. I will occasionally, but it's just not. It's
I'm
not
guilty too. So,
right. I used to eat the pate a lot,
hmm,
but I don't eat as much of it anymore. So
yeah,
taking that supplement is kind of like how I overcome that.
yeah.
Um, but the other thing is I take that digestive gold enzyme.
Okay, yeah, I like
That
that a
was a
lot
big
too.
problem that I was having before is it's just lack of enzyme creation. And so
Hmm.
supplementing with that thing is great. It's inexpensive. You can get like a whole year supply for like $40 or something like that. It
Oh
is
wow.
great. And then I love that supplement. And then the other one is Thrive. Thrive is
Just Thrive did a lot for you. Okay.
yeah, that what a great probiotic.
Yeah,
It's a little bit more expensive than other ones, but that is a uh,
yeah,
fantastic way to repopulate your gut. I love it,
yeah.
and I've recommended it to friends and friends that really didn't have like a lot of issues, but just like little issues.
Just to like
And
get them on the, yeah, get them in the, yeah,
and like they lose weight and have great outcomes with it. Just feel, one of the things I noticed with it, and I don't know what like really the microbiology of it all, but I
hmm,
would feel like this intense like euphoric rush taking it, like what
oh
where
yeah,
like
yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, the microbes are responsible for a lot of our hormones and feel good feelings and stuff. So yeah.
I take it, and I remember when I started going back to work, and I really love my job. It's something that gives me incredible joy, and
Hmm.
I would be walking down the hall, like, and I'm like, I'm going back to work now. I can work and stuff, and I would be walking to my office, and I'm just feeling like just pure euphoric, thankfulness
Awesome.
and
That's
gratefulness.
good.
The Thrive really helped with that. When I came home, I was on OxyContin, and so
Hmm.
like I got off of it as quickly as I possibly could. I was in horrible pain. I could only sleep in one particular position. It was like so painful. But I was like, you know what, I got to kick these things because for one, they're not really working much anymore, and I
Yeah.
don't want to double down on them. And I
Hmm.
just hated the way they make me feel. And
Yeah.
so I started taking a CBD tincture with uh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, with turmeric. It was from a company called Select. In the state that I'm in, this stuff is ubiquitous. You can just go to the store and get it. So
Yeah.
if I know for a lot of people you can't the access isn't as much. But it was something that I would take for pain, and sometimes it would not really work at all,
Yeah.
but sometimes I would take it and it would give me enough to not be in screaming pain. So
Yeah.
basically just
Yeah.
enough to be able to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so like that stuff was really wonderful. And then it had turmeric in it as well. So
Nice.
um,
Nice.
like I really thought that was great for pain,
Yeah.
and you know I don't know what kind of healing properties it really had, but I mean the turmeric's good.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. I mean, marijuana was my painkiller
yeah,
when things got bad for me. But
yeah,
like a thing I like to mention about pain, and is sadomasochist as it sounds, like pain is your best motivator.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah,
it
it cleanses
like
you. Yeah.
yeah, like you have like it motivates you to be like, I don't ever want to feel like this
feel
again.
like this, yeah, again. And that's, it's funny because it's like, I don't drink any longer. I used to be a
Hmm.
drinker, not I didn't have a problem with it or anything, but I drank pretty regularly. I would eat late at night. I would eat fast food sometimes. I would do a lot of bad stuff,
Hmm.
and I could eat a lot of fried foods,
Yeah.
that I never eat anymore, and
Yeah.
and all of these things like that I literally gave up like that.
Yeah.
It was because of the pain. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have no. When people are like, "Wow, you have great willpower," and it's like, not really. Like I don't.
Yeah. It's like I don't even consider that food anymore. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
This is just in my mind, it's equated to, literally
Yeah.
gut wrenching pain. And so like
Yeah.
I don't have an urge to eat sugary, like to me it's like the donut is probably like the most evil thing I could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have like a donut issue beforehand, but I would eat them occasionally, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's what a toxic like waste dump of food, and
Yeah.
and like I don't have an urge to pick up a Krispy Kreme donut. I just don't. I've been cleansed with
And you can have sourdough bread fresh out of the oven with some butter on it, and it tastes
absolutely.
just as good, and there's no guilt involved, and
Yeah,
there's
put
no
a
pain
little honey on it.
involved.
Well, and that's the thing that like we don't eat sugar in my house. We eat honey,
Yeah.
raw honey,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I like honey better. It's
Yeah.
better. It
I
tastes
I
better.
cannot stand white sugar. I can tell when
Yeah,
there's white sugar and stuff, but like you have molasses, and I don't know how good molasses tastes by itself, but you have maple syrup and
maple
honey.
syrup is wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's so many options, and you know what, and I think that like this, like going out to all those people that are struggling right now, you get your gut healed and you can enjoy like a great
Yeah,
meal.
like you can go out to eat with your friends once a week, and or like you don't have to be like a hermit and
Right,
stuff
right.
like that. And
You do have to change your lifestyle. I mean,
yeah,
I don't like we don't really eat out. One of the things with the coronavirus too, like one of the
yeah.
unintended consequences is that we eat all our meals at home anyway. But
Most restaurants nowadays suck at
yeah,
cooking. Like I can go to
horrible,
the
horrible.
nicest restaurants in town, and I'm like, how the hell did you cook this piece of steak? Like seriously, this is
Yeah,
so tough.
you know,
Like
um,
they, most
it,
restaurants have lost the art of like cooking. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, and these horrible oils, it's like people got to get away from these oils are just
Yeah,
the
the
worst.
oils are the worst. The
And,
oils are
and
so
they're
bad.
almost completely unavoidable, because
Yeah,
very few people are really, woke to the oil thing, and,
yeah,
but,
yeah. Everyone uses
luckily,
oils.
right. It's just unescapable. So you do kind
Hmm.
of just not, you just kind of just don't go eat out. I
Yeah,
mean, I live in the city I live in. We're kind of world famous for our restaurants. And so one of the things that's
yeah,
that's nice about that is that we do have some restaurants that are wonderful here,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there
yeah,
are a handful of them that I can eat at that have really great sourcing, and
yeah,
everything's very, very open.
yeah,
And we're starting to turn the corner on it too. Like you can see, like for
yeah,
example, a Jersey Mike's, like they're advertising antibiotic free,
yeah,
meats and
yeah.
stuff. So we're starting to turn the corner, or like Chipotle, it's like, hey, we're
Yeah,
antibiotic free.
Chipotle's leading the
Yeah,
Chipotle's pretty darn good. They just need to switch the oil, and then,
the
then
oils, yeah, yeah. There's a
Chipotle's
couple
good if
things
they
that,
switch the oil. Like,
right.
and that's like the big thing for me. I haven't been to Chipotle in a while, so
Yeah, yeah. So there is some movement in the right
yeah.
direction. And we have
People
some great
people want to eat healthy. They're just clueless
they're
on.
just clueless, right? And
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 that's
think
that's
about
what
it, McDonald's, like literally, it was the 80s that this whole vegetable oil thing happened in the 80s. Like
yeah, it's
or
so
maybe early 90s, which is hard to believe.
it's really, really unfortunate because we actually made fried chicken last night
Oh yeah.
with beef tallow. Beef
Yeah.
tallow, and then a little bit of Kerrygold butter, a little bit of olive oil,
There you
and
go.
we made fried chicken with that. And my wife was just like, "Oh my God, this is like the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life." And it's
Yeah,
like,
if you make homemade fried chicken with like sourdough batter,
yeah, yeah. I
like
mean,
It's
Well,
not gonna
and
get.
that's,
It's like
we eat sourdough. We don't like, my wife is still kind of trying to get the like mastering baking
it's
bread is
tough.
it's fine art. But we get it from Whole Foods. That's one of the things that we get
There
from
you
Whole
go.
Foods
There you go.
because
Yeah.
they make organic sourdough right there at the store. You just go to the bakery and they'll even
Hmm.
cut it for you. They got a cutter and
Yeah.
everything, so
Yeah.
they'll slice it. So because we've always eaten a lot of bread, but like my breakfast this morning when my wife wakes up will be a couple eggs,
Yeah.
maybe bacon. We do that a couple of days a week. Some arugula,
Yeah.
a piece of sourdough bread, and some berries.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, so you can eat a balance. Like once you get through the protocol and you're going through the steps and everything,
Yeah.
there'll be a point in time where you'll be able to enjoy some of these foods again.
Hmm.
But in the meantime, you got to kind of stick to the
Yeah.
cured meats. Cured meats was a huge thing for me too. Like I lived off of that and smoked salmon and oysters
Nice.
and eggs for
Oh,
months.
good oysters. Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny how gluten's the enemy right now, and then and then they go to church on Sunday, and they're staff of life, staff of life. It's very conflicting information out there. So,
yeah. Well, I
um,
mean, if your enzymes are right and like that
mhm,
was the big thing for me. It's like I think that once I started getting my enzymes right and I was eating papaya and taking the ox bile,
mhm.
which is in that enzyme gold supplement. I think that's one that you recommend. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I recommend. Yeah,
Um,
I like that one.
yeah, I was taking colostrum too. I still take colostrum, which is
Yeah,
great.
cholesterol's awesome.
Yeah, I think that
Um,
that one was really great. There was another one. I take a whole bunch of them, but yeah, it is. It's been a great journey, and I'm really happy to be talking with you. Like in
oh,
my household, you're like how some like Catholic households look at the Pope or something. That's how we look at you.
boy,
So
I'm honored. I'm honored. Thank you.
uh,
I appreciate. I'm glad I could help. I'm glad I could save someone the time I went through. It took me a long time to figure it out, and I'm
yeah,
still
well,
trying to push the envelope and make things faster for people. So,
yeah. Well, I think that if I could tell one thing to people, it's like, look, you have to be a great student, and
mhm,
it is a little bit more than just diet. You have to. I think that it. Connecting spiritually, I think, is really important, right? For me,
mhm,
we read the Bible on a nightly basis, and when you read about Jesus, like he is a healer, and I think that if even if this isn't like on a spiritual realm for you, just reading
mhm.
those stories, I think really helped us in our mindset, where it's like, look,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
reach out, you will get the help, and when you believe you got God on your side, it helps, right? So,
yeah.
and I think that was a huge thing. Meditation, I think, is huge. I would
Mhm.
sunbathe every morning, so I would wake up with the sun every
I
morning.
think that's big. It like charges your cells. It
Yeah,
probably sets your circadian rhythm or whatever. All that
right,
good
right.
stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Um,
and I think and my vitamin D, when I got my blood work done early on, and my vitamin D was very, very low, which you're
mhm.
not going to be able to heal if you're low in vitamin D. So I
Oh
started
yeah,
supplementing
yeah,
with it, and then also I would just sunbathe every morning. I'd open up my window and
yeah.
I would just lay in the sun. Luckily, and where I'm at, we're a desert, so it's like
You
we
got
get
plenty of
sun all the
that.
time. So
Yeah.
and then
I like that you kept your journal because
yeah, yeah,
I mean I'm not kidding. Like from a business perspective, I have like this is my business checklist thing. I have a pen taped so no one can steal my pen, and so it's always
oh
stuck here. And I'm telling you, if there'll be like some days I'll leave this in my backpack and I just stare at the computer all day. There's something that happens when you write your goals down or you track yourself. You become more accountable because you just make stuff up in your head, like when you don't write stuff down. But really
absolutely,
writing stuff down and writing out your goals, or whether you want to eat
yes.
better, or it really helps things become reality, whether you believe in the the secret, that thing or
Yeah.
whatever, but
Yeah.
it really, I would not be, I write down my goals every year. I write down my goals every day,
Yeah.
for the day.
There's
It's
something
super
magical
important
that
for me.
happens when you put that pen to paper. And it's not the same thing when you write it, when you type it out on the computer. I don't know what's up with that, but
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
actually tried that. I actually, like Microsoft has like this thing and you can see like this big list of stuff
yeah.
and it doesn't feel the same to me.
I mean, in a way it's better because it saves it, right? It's like a piece of
Yeah.
paper on my
It
desk.
seems, yeah, it seems like it would be, it's a lot more organized. You could actually read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
But
like,
it does the same, the connection doesn't happen. And so,
mhm,
being that great student, I think that, I think, and this is going to be kind of a tough thing for a lot of people because like our lifestyles are so busy. I think that shutting
yeah,
off the media, it's like,
yeah,
and for somebody like, I've always paid close attention to the news and
yeah,
to politics and to this kind of stuff.
yeah,
Not engaging with that stuff for about a year was
yeah,
very helpful, because it's just so bad. It's so toxic. And
yeah. I'm kind of engaging with it right now, and I'm just like, I just need to stop.
yeah, it is. Like I worked.
The world's painted such a horrible place when you
Yeah,
start looking at it through the news. You're like, I don't even want to be here. It's so,
and it really
it's like,
isn't. It really isn't
yeah,
that bad. But like it's just you got, if you're healing, like, look, I mean,
yeah.
save it
You
for
need
when
to
you're healthy.
focus on healing. You need to, you got some stupid hobbies you're doing, drop them. Like you
Yeah,
need to
exactly.
focus. The more time you focus, the more time and energy and money you put into this, the quicker it's going to be like something like this. And I'm going to try to make that path as straight as possible for you guys. But
Yeah.
you just have to be obsessed about something.
You do, yeah, and I think that from, like, in my 20s, I was an obsessive musician. I just like couldn't
Mm-hmm.
get enough of it. Like I just
Yeah.
would not stop. And then,
Yeah.
when I started in my career, I was obsessive about that. I read
Yeah.
books about it. Like I just dove in. And when I got diagnosed with Crohn's, I became obsessed with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I probably watched, at that point in your YouTube career, I probably watched every single thing that you did, and
Awesome. Thank
along
you.
with all the other, kind of gut
Yeah.
doctor,
Yeah.
gut people out there. I found your story to be the most compelling,
Yeah.
and I think that, the other thing is too, is like, I'm glad that you don't give it away for free. I think if you gave it away for free, I think that people wouldn't appreciate it, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
wouldn't really dive in. When I paid for the protocol, it vested me in it.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so,
When you
like,
pay for something, you're like, okay, I better use this.
this is my thing, and I remember going through each video and each step and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and just diving into it,
Yeah.
and a lot of the stuff, my wife was like, that doesn't sound right, and I'm like, well, we're doing it, and I think that's, and
Nothing I say sounds right.
yeah, it's like, well,
From someone coming from a modern perspective, just
right,
about.
right.
It's like it's pretty funny.
And
Um,
now, and well, and that's the other thing too, is it's like, like, because when I was doing my research, it was all these different people that I was getting influence from, and they all helped me out in different ways.
yeah.
But I knew from my experience in business and just in life in general that you cannot just mix and match a protocol
Yeah.
together. You have to
Yeah.
follow. It's not scientific. You have to
Yeah.
follow exactly one way, have one vision, follow one
Yeah.
vision. And yours was the first one that I really grasped onto, because
Yeah.
I was like, all these other people, and you're saying a lot of the same stuff that a lot of these other people are saying, but
Yeah.
like I had consulted with multiple doctors, holistic GI doctors across the
Yeah.
country on Zoom. I had done a lot. I've spent a lot of money, honestly,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. Yours was really the cheapest one, out of all the ones that I did. But
Yeah.
I felt like I had to choose one,
Yeah.
and then kind of see if that worked out. Like I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
give it, 3 to 6 months. And then if I'm not feeling better, if I'm not noticing a noticeable difference, I'm going to switch and go to this other guy, and see
Yeah.
if he's got the answer. Luckily yours worked.
That's essentially what I did, like 10, I don't know how many times. So yeah, I'm glad I could save you
Oh yeah.
the long journey. And it's, there are a lot of people. I think it's best to listen to someone who's, made the journey themselves. So we got like people like Kenny Hannes and other people like that. Then you also have people like, high carb health and stuff. But, you need to be very, very, very careful who you listen to. And
Yeah.
I've seen, I remember I started with the specific carbohydrate diet. And they've been a huge part. That's we're riding on the shoulders of giants here. Weston A. Price and all these specific. I have my issues with specific carbohydrate diet and GAPS, but they've given me like tons and tons of information.
Yeah.
But I went back like literally like 10 years ago. I bought this packet on how to do the specific carbohydrate diet. And I bought it again last year to kind of get inspiration on like structure for like my booklet.
Yeah.
They had not changed one word. It's like, and there's just no drive to make it. It does not compute in my head. Like why that hasn't been, like why there isn't. I don't know how someone can be satisfied being on the specific carbohydrate diet for 10 years. I would lose my mind.
Yeah, because I mean, the idea is to heal yourself and then be able to incorporate the foods that you love, and to be able to eat them, and have a balanced diet. Because really now, I just eat clean.
Yeah.
Like we avoid the oils. We avoid alcohol, and I don't drink coffee anymore. I used to drink
That's a big one. That's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't.
The name of the game is try to get as many nutrients into you in an easy to digest format as possible.
Yeah.
And not hurt yourself. That is literally how you heal. And if you're not making progress, then you're missing some key nutrient.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to believe that you can fix most, SIBO and things like that with just nutrition, and just like minor infection fighting stuff. I'm starting to switch over to that mode of thinking, but then you just have to be educated, and I think what my program does is it helps you. There's only like 5 food groups, and if you just understand how to prepare those foods and what to look out for, you'll be all right. I think a lot of people, they are eating healthy and they get sick and they just have no idea. They don't know why they're sick. That's the first big, they don't know why they're sick.
And the doctors certainly aren't helping them.
They don't know why either.
Yeah. I remember like my GI doctor, God, what a lunatic, and I remember going to him and just being like, so what about diet? I'm like, because they're talking is pharmaceuticals and ripping your head up, and I'm just like, what about diet? There's got to be a diet that can really help out, and they're like, oh well, this isn't caused by diet, and I'm like, how is that even like possible? How can you just say that? This isn't just caused by diet. Like,
there's no like logical explanation for why it wouldn't be. Yeah, it's like,
and then they get mad at you because you're just like
you're asking too many questions.
You're just asking questions, and it's like, I'm not like some just like dummy that listens to you because you got an MD next to your name. I'm sorry, like I just don't do that. Like, this is my health, and I'm dying here. I'm gonna ask questions, and I need proper answers, and look, the answer is I don't know. That's acceptable, by the way.
That's a fine answer. Right?
It's like, okay, you don't know.
Like, all right, I'm gonna go somewhere else then.
Yeah, it's exactly, but like the confidence that they have And it's like, look at these people in your waiting room, okay? And you're
Yeah.
confident? Are you kidding me? Like, if
Yeah.
that was my outcomes, I would look at it and go, you know, objectively speaking, I'm not doing a very good job here, you know, but it was probably one of the greatest moments of my life to go back to him. And at that point in time, you know, I was working, so I went in with my suit and I was just looking
Nice.
good. And he's like, wow, you look great. And I'm like, you know, I feel great too. Okay, what are you doing? You know, because he knew yeah, obviously I wasn't coming in for my Remicade shots, you know, and he's like, he
Uh-huh.
put me on mesalamine or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
chemo
The
drug.
mesalamine, yeah.
Yeah, like all these horrible drugs, and super expensive too. And
Mesalamine is like $600 a bottle.
yeah, I still have a bottle of it. I never took a single pill of it because I started reading about it. I'm like, yeah, no, like right.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that you know, you got to be patient too. You know, it's like 'cause it takes time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're, you know, you didn't damage yourself in a week, and you're not going to fix it in a week. And it
Yeah.
really, it took. I would say realistically, it was about two full years, you know, to be
Yeah. Yeah.
completely like I was able to get kind of start to get my life back within about 4 or 5 months, you know,
Yeah.
and start to go back to work. But I was so
Yeah.
weak,
You
you
were
know, I
so
couldn't,
weak you couldn't walk up the stairs
yeah,
and get in your car. Like that is like, I mean, most people don't recover from stuff like that. It's
yeah, you know, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And when
wow.
you spend, you know, 30 days in the hospital bed, you're going to need you just don't have any muscles. You
Yeah.
know, I couldn't do a
Yeah.
single push-up. You know, it's like now I can do like
Wow.
50 push-ups. You know,
Yeah.
like my strength is like better than it's ever been. Like, and I, you know, I can work out. You know, I was actually planning on getting back in the gym, but then all this coronavirus stuff happened. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to the gym with all this. But because I really want to be an example. Like I'd like to be the type of person you just see and you're like, wow, that guy's really healthy. And then I
Yeah.
can be like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, you should have seen where I was at. You know what I mean? To where I'm at
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I want to be that kind of like human billboard, you know, and just to be able to help people, you know. But
Hmm.
it's you know, it's one of those things where like I would get up every day, and as a father, and like I'm like this is my job is to protect the house from intruders, you know what I mean? Not like some like
Yeah.
Rambo
Yeah.
or anything. And I'm definitely not a tough guy at all, but it's like, but I got to be able to put up a fight, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
run away. And there was like this feeling of dread that it was like
Hmm.
if somebody like came into our home, I would not even be able to stand up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it was
Right.
just, and so I would wake up every morning, like before the sun would come up to do my sunbathing, and I would like, you know, get on the ground and like just try to do a single knee push up. You know what I mean? And I would every morning I would be like, I'm gonna do it today, and I would just try and try and try. Like I can't even do a knee
Wow.
push up, you know. And
Wow.
so it's like because I felt like, man, I'm, you know, like I have this little girl I got to protect. I got my wife I got to
Hmm.
protect. I can't be this weak. It was like
Hmm.
it was so like it was such a horrible feeling, you know. But I think that you have to stay positive, you know, and that's the other
Yeah.
thing too. And that's one thing. Like even when I was in the hospital, I never, but like I remember like they had like some social worker and stuff come in to have me fill out the documents to start getting disability, and like I'm like, no. I was like, I'm going back to work. Okay. I was like, in fact, I was like, I was kind of insulted about it. I was like, I don't need this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm making money right now. Right. It was just really the nature of my
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I was just like, I was like, I don't need help from anybody. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like there's just something about it. Like, you know, I get it. Like it's there for, it's not that I feel like I'm above it. It's that I feel like that's
Yeah.
for some other person. The money needs to be for them that really need the
Hmm.
help. They can't ever work again. You know, that's what
Yeah.
that money's for. And I was like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. I don't need to fill out your paperwork. Well, the good news
Yeah.
about Crohn's is when you got it this bad, you know, you just get your disability check. You know, it's like, no,
It's like,
no.
yeah, it's when it's bad, it's bad. Yeah. It's,
I never felt for a second that this was just going to be my life. And I think
yeah.
that that's one thing, like, and you know, quite honestly, people were looking at me like I was nuts. They're like, no, you're never going to work again. You're never going to be able to do the things you're doing before again. It's just
Mm-hmm.
never going to be like that for you again. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm going to
Yeah.
fix this. And this, I never for a second thought like I'm on a morphine drip, you know, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
dying, right? Diarrhea for vomiting for months on end.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you looked at me in the mirror, you just be like, I look like a cancer patient or like something like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
horrible. And like I said, I just stopped looking in the mirror because I would break down in tears every time I looked at myself because
It's
I just didn't even
horrible.
recognize who the person was looking back at me. And so I just like, you know, it's like, just don't look in the mirror anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I never didn't believe with every part of my heart and soul that I was
Yeah.
going to get through it. And that I think that that's something you have to carry with you. You cannot
Was there a
allow
piece of information that you saw like on one of my videos or read in Weston A. Price's book? Because I remember I got stuck with like a $3,000 bill on Remicade, and I was
yeah,
like, this hasn't done anything for me. I'm not paying this. And then I stumbled upon Weston A. Price. So I don't know how. It was like I met someone in like a health store. You know, you don't
yeah,
talk to people in the store, and I ended up talking to this person. It is crazy how this happened. But I remember I started, you know, I heard about Weston A. Price. I had the book in my hands the next day. And if you're someone who doesn't have that book, if someone tells you like, hey, I read about someone who met people in the forest and they were so healthy they had zero cavities, and you don't have that book in your hand the next day, I'm sorry, but you don't deserve to heal. Like
exactly.
you need to be serious. Like that's
You
like
do.
indisputable evidence. But
You're
I was
right.
reading his book, and he was in the jungle and all this stuff, and he finds
And it's
this
such a
old tomb.
fascinating story
It's
too. Like
fascinating.
it should be
Yeah.
made into a movie,
It's
honestly,
like
because
Indiana Jones, but
yeah,
without the
dude,
whip or
it's like it's going to
something.
the
The dude
Holy
did this when he was
Grail.
like 70.
Yeah, it's incredible,
And
you know.
yeah, when I you just don't have that proof nowadays. It's like, but when I saw the proof, I saw the evidence that like people they were so healthy, they had perfectly straight teeth and no cavities and could see the moons of Jupiter with the naked eye and stuff like that. I was like, oh wow, okay, this is at least something to shoot for. Versus if you don't having Weston A. Price's work is like at least your foundation. Like
Yeah.
there's nowhere to anchor your, like if you want to be a good person, you anchor yourself to like Abraham Lincoln or like Martin Luther King.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like you have to have that anchor.
Yeah. First
So
principles.
yeah,
It's first principles, and it's like because the thing is there's going to be all of these whirlwind of things that are there to throw you off of
there's
that
plenty
foundation.
of them today. So
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. And it's like every day there's a new diet, you know, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
people doing new things and the fact is that, you know, it's all there. You know, you just have to
Yeah.
but you have to anchor yourself to that. And so I think like for me, like I just believed that, you know, another thing that really helped me too, like it's funny, like going back in it, um I would watch Bob Ross for the painter, you know, Bob Ross, you know,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
with
No,
the
I know what you're
pro and
talking
stuff.
about. Yeah.
Like it and like he would just relax me. You know, it's funny
Yeah.
because it's like it just I would watch him and he would be painting his little paintings and I'd be in pain and just like dying and like just like the sound of him like kind of scraping against the canvas and it would just put me in a good mood, you know.
Yeah.
And that I think that like that mindset, you know, that mindset is so powerful.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Think about music and movies and stuff. Like
oh
just
yeah,
just change the music in a movie and it makes something super depressing or super comedic. Like it's
absolutely,
and
absolutely, and
today like all the music on the radio is like
it's toxic.
somewhat depressing or about really weird. It's like I don't even know how some like would you ever sing about this? It's like so weird.
Yeah, no, well, and you know, Aristotle said if you listen to the wrong kind of music, you will become the wrong kind of person. And I
Oh, that
I
was before
firmly,
lyrics were in
yeah,
the radio.
Absolutely. I firmly
Wow.
believe it. Sometimes people say, oh, music, it's just music, right? It's just music. No, if you listen to this stuff, you will become the wrong kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I firmly believe that. And I had like kind of power songs that I would listen to
Oh yeah.
during the worst of it that would give me strength,
Yeah.
so I think just kind of incorporating, as much as you can, you have to get rid of the distractions, and that includes, I took 5 months off of work. Like I couldn't work for one,
Yeah.
but it's like I didn't work, I didn't
Yep.
do anything, and I know for a lot of people that's not something that it's possible for them, and
Yeah.
then it's unfortunate. But if I had to move back in with my mom, if that was like what I had to do to
Yeah.
heal myself, I would have done it, and just
And
been like,
you
what.
don't have to be like stuck at home or stuck in a library. You go to farms, you go to like conventions and stuff like that. You're making new friends. You're
Yeah,
not being like a total recluse or anything. You're like, I'm still doing research, and we go to like sanatoriums and different conventions, and I like going to different organic restaurants and grocery stores
yeah,
and stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff to explore, especially when you're new.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Seeing
should
what
get
new
you excited.
products come out and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like, well, because remember, and this is why it's important to have a vision and to write down your goals and all of these things, because you're going to get there, and let that
Mhm.
excitement of that life that is out there that you're going to achieve,
Mhm.
that pain-free life where you
Yeah.
can enjoy healthy meals with the people you love, and because that's
Yeah.
really what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's like this is about reconnecting with that the ancient way.
Yeah.
Like that's we have to get, like, they had all the answers back then. um,
One thought that I had was like, my ancestors are probably rolling in their grave knowing that I succumbed to just eating the wrong foods. Like how embarrassing is that, like on my
Your great
lineage? It's
grandmother
just
would
like great
definitely.
grandma, just eat what do you eat? What's
Yeah,
wrong with you? Like
yeah.
it's so simple.
Well, and I
It's
think that like there was one young man that, and I've noticed, like, for whatever reason, I have a lot of people of African descent that are just always in my circle,
mhm.
whether it be at work or whatever, but like straight, like from Africa, like, and
Oh,
I've
okay. Yeah,
noticed that
yeah, yeah.
they have horrible health outcomes when they come to America.
Oh
Um,
yeah. And
like,
they're
like
like like yeah, they're like huge and beautiful when they first come, or just
right,
like
yeah, and then like within a few short months they're having horrible psoriasis
mhm.
issues, overweight,
Yeah.
diabetes, like, and I got to tell them, I'm like, look, I go, I can tell you about how to, like, the things that are good for everybody.
Yeah.
Avoid the toxic stuff, right? but
Yeah.
i but I always tell them, I go, look, what, like, my ancestry is Welsh, Irish, basically, like,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of Anglo sphere. My
Yeah.
mom's Mexican, so like there's a little bit of like native and a little bit of like German, a little bit of
Yeah, yeah.
like that kind of like Mexican kind of mix. But like that's kind of like where my people come from. And so like I've tried to reconnect with that. So I was like, that's why I eat sea kelp and oysters and
Mhm.
fish and meat and butter, and like all of these things are like the
Yeah.
things that my ancient people were eating. I go, now your ancient people probably didn't eat dairy like the way that mine did, so
Yeah.
like I eat a lot of dairy. I drink raw milk, and I eat raw cheeses and stuff like that, because that's what my people did. I go,
Yeah.
you have to connect with what your people did, which I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like in Africa, it's like a
Africans
huge
had a
continent.
really Africa has some really cool foods.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's tribes that were cattle farmers and stuff like that, or drinking a ton of
Mhm.
milk. But there's also
Mhm.
tribes that didn't do that and
Mhm.
were eating other things. So and it's a huge continent,
Yeah.
and I'm sure what Senegalese people are eating is different than what people in
Yeah.
Ethiopia are eating and stuff. but for whatever reason, I've had a lot of these folks in my circle and have been able to help them out. And I'm like, look, I can tell you what things to avoid, but I gotta level with you. This Western diet will kill you. You're
Yeah.
not you're
Yeah.
not it's like for me, like growing up in it, I was able to damage myself for decades before it
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
finally hit. But I go, you are not going to have the benefit of that because your people were not eating this stuff. You are
Yeah.
going to be eaten alive, okay, and
Yeah.
eating this crap. You have to change, and you have to connect with your heritage, and you have to eat what they were
Yeah.
eating, and otherwise you are going to have a nightmare situation, and so and that, I think that's the other thing of having the humility of knowing that we can't just like heal somebody or like tell you just do what
Yeah.
I did. You know what I mean? It's like, no, what I
Yeah.
did worked for me in my specific situation. You have to kind of take the information and not just like blindly do what you're told.
Yeah, because
um,
there's such little details. It's like, go eat this, and it's like if you pressure cook it or cook it in a frying pan, it's like two totally different outcomes.
yeah, yeah.
And it depending on how much you eat, like I can tell like when my stomach's full and I don't, it's you
You have to
just
listen to your body.
it's like common sense that it's just totally gone out the window.
Well, we're
Fast.
not taking the time to reconnect, and I think
Yeah.
that's where meditation kind of comes in, because I would I forget what it's called. It's like some kind of ancient Chinese technique or whatever, but it's where you kind of focus your energy on whatever part of your body you're trying to heal. And I remember just
Yeah. Yeah.
meditating on that part of that lower right hand corner of my gut
Oh, okay.
where the center of my pain was. I still
Yeah.
can, it's not there anymore, but I can feel it. It's like this like thing that's always with me. Like I know
Mm-hmm.
that exact spot that caused me so much pain. Right there in the colon, and
Cool.
and um and I would just focus my energy and focus my meditation on this spot. And I felt like it was like I was, and I don't really know a lot about all this stuff, on the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual end or on the medical end, but I just felt like it was like I was summoning my body's healing power to
Mm-hmm.
that spot, and like I would just focus my energy onto that spot, and like how much of that like actually helped or whatever, or maybe it was just placebo, or maybe it's just
Yeah.
me psyching myself out. But does it really matter at the end of the day? Because the outcome was a healthy, healed gut, and so, but I think
Yeah.
that you can get really depressed, man, and I think that that's part of this disease too that isn't talked
Oh
about as
yeah.
much, is that the gut microbiome is providing that serotonin and all of those feelings of accomplishment and
Yeah.
euphoria. Your gut's providing that for you. And so if you've damaged your gut, if you're feeling depressed right now, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling anxiety, this is part of the process, and this will cure that. I think that, honestly, I
Mm-hmm.
think that probably 80% of depression in America is just a
Yeah.
messed up gut microbiome. I think if you fix that, you probably are going to fix it. But I don't think that. I think that if you are depressed, I think that's going to be a lot harder
Yeah.
to
And
heal.
it's hard to live a fulfilling life when you're like a life that isn't depressing when you're sick.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely, absolutely. And
like if you're
so you
not
can make it
depressed, there's
accessible.
something wrong with you.
Right, because it's like it's
Like
depressing to not be able to get out of
yeah, yeah.
bed.
Um,
So and I think that that's kind of connecting with like, what's your purpose in life? You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I know like, we're
yeah.
kind
That's
of getting
big.
beyond, gut, but it's like, like, for me, it's like I just wanted to be able to play with my little girl, put her on my shoulders, run around with her, go play soccer with her, and teach her how to ride a bike, and
Hmm.
like the idea of not being able to do that with her, like that was enough to drive me, and so it's
Hmm.
like you have to have something to drive you to get through it,
Hmm.
and maybe your purpose is to help people that are going through it, and
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a big part of my purpose. And one of the reasons why I work really hard to stay healthy is because I feel like I'm an example for other people, and
Yeah.
that so I think it's kind of connecting with that purpose is really, really critical.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you said it there, and Yeah, I see a lot of people nowadays kind of going around aimlessly, but yeah, guys, yeah, thanks for sharing your story. Like your story was amazing. I think we've been going for an hour now, but
Yeah. Oh yeah. Time flies.
I love all the information. I'm sure we could talk forever, but
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely can't though. I got to get to work.
yeah, yeah, you got your work starting. Yeah, bedtime for me soon. So
Yeah.
thank you so
Absolutely.
much, and I'm glad you're back living your life again,
Yeah.
and I
It's,
appreciate you sharing your story and your support.
I appreciate you. I
So,
appreciate the community. I really firmly believe that, for everybody watching this, you're part of the best, gut healing community in the world. And
thank you.
I think that the work that you've done has, like that, just in my life,
Mm,
I've directed so many people to the work that you've done,
thank you.
I think that anything, like, I'm not sure what the protocol costs these days. Whatever it is, it's worth it. It's worth it. So,
Yeah,
um,
thank you. I mean,
can't
the
get
cost of
started.
the protocol right now it's 500, but like I spend like $500 a day doing research and testing different. Like I want to make it like it's like fixing a car and fix a computer.
Yeah,
Like this is broken.
I
All
think that's
right,
what I connect
replace this
with. You.
part. Done. All right, you're
Yeah,
better. And like a month. I want
yeah,
it to be like that with like the craziest worst cases.
yeah.
And
Well, I could say that's pretty much my example. Like a
yeah,
month. Like I think it took a lot longer, but
yeah,
I could see that I was on the right path in a month. That's for sure. Within a
yeah.
month, I'm like,
Oh,
okay, if I keep
awesome,
doing this,
awesome.
I'm gonna be good.
Yeah. And we just got a big part of I just discovered a big new piece of the puzzle, like electrolytes and the mineral balance.
Yeah, what's with the seawater? Because I don't like I
Yeah,
never
I
really.
can explain that. Yeah, so even in the Bible, he started with the sea first. And if we look at evolution and just biology and the evolution of different like the kidneys and stuff like that, it's clear all life on land came out of the ocean. um, so we have a lot of similarities with seawater, and if you can compare our blood with seawater, it has the exact same mineral proportions. It's you have to dilute the seawater, but it's the same as blood. Like during World War I and World War II, when they were running out of blood, they just diluted seawater and pumped that into you.
Wow.
And so seawater has been used for a very, very long time. Even Plato and Hippocrates talk about using seawater, just having people drink seawater, and they just get better from stuff. But the French seemed to document it a lot in the 1800s, and this guy named Rene Quinton just gave people seawater IVs, diluted seawater IVs, and they like came back from like cholera and all sorts of digestive issues. And so I've been looking at it a little bit more, and there's some people still practicing it, but they've passed laws to make it more difficult and stuff
Yeah,
like
of
that.
course they are.
Um, so my stance on it right now is you use seawater to fix the fluids outside of your cells, and then inside the cell it's high in protein, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, and sulfur, which is seawater has zero phosphorus in it. It has very low amounts of potassium, and it doesn't have any protein in it. So I'm trying to come up with like what's the best way to fix the inside of the cell.
Hmm.
Um, and I think people can get results faster. And my money's on whey because it's super high in phosphorus, and that's a mineral nobody talks about. It's like as important as calcium. Like it's super important.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's where I've been digging recently. But so I think I think we're gonna bring in some whey and some seawater, diluted seawater into the protocol, and it's gonna
Yeah.
and even the raw milk doctors talked about all we're trying to do is fix the blood. We're just trying to like get all this milk into you, and it, gives you this blood that's washes your cells with, all the vitamins and minerals that your cells need to function correctly. So, how'd you fatten up a pig? You gave them the leftover whey on the farm. It's and whey actually used to be a huge, like, coffee shops today are like on every corner. In Europe, there used to be like whey cafes, like, hey, you want to go on a, like, it just like blows my mind. Like, hey, let's go to the dairy and share a cup of whey versus like, hey, let's go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to push the envelope and make it faster for people, because I feel like, gut cells regenerate every like 10 days or something. So there's like, why can't someone be like 100, like, see dramatic results, in 1 to 2 months, like be eating McDonald's again or something like that, and or at least have that ability to be like the average person and abuse their body for like eat McDonald's like a few times a week and not phase them whatsoever. Like that's the average person. I want to start. A lot of our students have those types of results, but I want it to be like science, do X, Y, Z, and so we're still working on that. But yeah, Mano, thank you so much for sharing your story.
I love it. Anything I can do, if there's anything that that I could do to help the community, or if there's anybody that would like anything, it's part of my keeping my commitment with God, because I promised God, if you got me to where I'm at right now, that I would help out whoever I could, and and so if anybody needs anything, just reach out. And,
cool. Yeah, you guys can comment on the video down below, and
yeah, absolutely,
it's probably the best way to keep track of things. But yeah,
thank
you so much, and I'll go to bed and you can go to work. So
all right, excellent. All right, hey, have a good one, and thanks a lot, Mike. We really appreciate you. I can't tell you thank you enough. You maybe you hear a little ringing in your ears because we talk about you all the time.
Thanks, I really appreciate it. Glad you're back to loving life again.